The sun hung low over San Antonio, Texas, casting a golden glow over the streets. Officer Ryan Thompson adjusted his rearview mirror as he sat in his patrol car, scanning the traffic in front of him distractedly. His partner, Sarah Miller, tapped, her pen against her notepad, jotting down observations from their previous call. They were parked near Guadalupe Avenue, where the neighborhood transitioned from modest single-family homes to luxurious condominiums. It was then that Ryan's eyes were drawn to an elegant black vehicle passing by them. The driver, a Latina woman dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, had her hair perfectly styled, her posture upright and serene. Something about her demeanor seemed to irritate Ryan. "Look at that," he murmured with a tone full of disdain. "Luxury car. I bet he's up to something." Sarah looked up from her notes. "She is not exceeding the speed limit or breaking any laws," he answered cautiously. "What's the problem?" Ryan ignored her and reached the hazard lights. "Let's find out," he said with a mocking smile as he merged onto the road behind the car. The driver slowed down and signaled before stopping at the side of the road. Her movements were deliberate, almost rehearsed. Sarah noticed that his shoulders tensed slightly through the rear window as Ryan parked and got out of the patrol vehicle. "Ryan, this doesn't feel right," Sarah whispered as she hurriedly followed him. "You don't even have probable cause." "Stay back, rookie," Ryan snapped, his hand brushing against his holster. "I've been doing this for 20 years. I recognize a suspect when I see one." As I approached, the window rolled down, revealing Carmen Fuentes. Her expression was calm, but cautious, her dark eyes evaluating the two officers with quiet determination. "Good afternoon, officers," Carmen said in a firm voice. "Is there a problem?" Ryan leaned forward, his shadow falling over the inside of his car. "License and registration," he barked, ignoring her question. Carmen's hands moved carefully to retrieve her documents, placing them on the dashboard before sliding them. Sarah watched closely, noticing the slight tremor in Carmen's fingers. Her instincts told her that something was wrong. Not with Carmen, but with Ryan. Her behavior had changed from routine to unnecessarily aggressive. "What brings you to this part of the city, Miss Fuentes?" Ryan asked as he scanned her documents with a harsh tone. Carmen slightly tilted her head, keeping her voice measured. "I'm on my way to a meeting." Ryan's lip curled. It must be an important meeting to drive a car like that. Sarah felt a knot forming in her stomach. The tension was thick, and passers-by were starting to notice the interaction. He approached Ryan in a low voice. "Ryan is cooperating. Let's not escalate this." But Ryan was already pulling on the driver's door handle. "Get out of the vehicle," he ordered, tightening his grip around the door. Carmen's composure wavered for a moment. "Is there any reason for this?" he asked in a firm but calm voice. "I said, 'Get out!'" Ryan growled, yanking the door open. Carmen unbuckled her seatbelt, her movements deliberate, and stepped onto the pavement. Sarah's heart raced as she watched Ryan grab Carmen's arm with unnecessary force, dragging her to the side of the car. Carmen stumbled slightly, bracing herself against the door frame. "That's enough," Sarah said, stepping forward. Her voice trembled, but she held her ground. "She hasn't done anything wrong." Ryan shot her a look. "Stay out of this, rookie." Carmen straightened her jacket, facing Ryan's gaze head-on. "This is harassment," Officer Thompson said firmly. "I know my rights." Ryan smirked, leaning in closer. "Out here, rights are what I say they are." Carmen's jaw tightened, but she didn't back down. Sarah, standing a few meters away, felt a wave of conflicting emotions: fear, anger, and a growing sense of responsibility. This wasn't just another traffic stop, it was something much bigger. The tension around the car felt like a storm about to break. Ryan's grip on Carmen's arm tightened as he pushed her closer to the side of the car. Her bag fell from her shoulder, its contents scattering across the pavement. keys, a phone, a small notebook. Carmen exhaled sharply but maintained her composure. "This is completely unnecessary," Carmen said, her tone sharp but controlled. "I have complied with everything they have asked of me." Ryan scoffed, bending down to rummage through his belongings without permission. His movements were deliberate, calculated, as if he were looking for something to justify his behavior. "What is a woman like you doing driving a car like this?" he murmured. Sarah approached with her hands clenched at her sides. "Ryan, this is not the protocol. We don't have probable cause to search your belongings." Ryan ignored her with a gesture without bothering to look up. "You have a lot to learn, rookie. That's how you keep the streets clean." Carmen's voice hardened. "Officer Thompson is violating my rights. He has no reason to search my belongings." Ryan straightened up, holding one of his credit cards as if it were a piece of incriminating evidence. "Don't lecture me, ma'am. You're in my city now." A small crowd began to gather on the sidewalk, their murmurs growing louder. Several people had their phones out recording the scene. Carmen noticed it, but kept her eyes on Ryan, refusing to look away. Sarah's chest tightened when she saw Ryan step back toward the car, his hand sliding into his pocket. Her pulse quickened when she noticed a small plastic bag between his fingers, a bag that he hadn't taken from Carmen's belongings. Ryan called out to Sarah, his voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned toward the car and slid the bag under the driver's seat. Turning to the crowd, he raised his hands dramatically, as if he had just found a treasure. "Well, well," Ryan announced loudly, holding up the bag of white powder for everyone to see. "It seems we have a little drug situation here." Carmen's eyes widened, a mix of shock and anger crossing her face. "That's not mine," she said firmly, stepping towards him. "He just planted that on my car." Ryan smirked mockingly, his expression dripping with derision. "It's a nice story, Miss Fuentes, but it's not going to hold up." The crowd murmured louder, their voices filled with disbelief. Sarah felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She had seen what happened. Ryan had planted the evidence. He knew it was wrong. She knew she should say something, but fear kept her anchored in place. Carmen turned, her gaze towards Sarah, her eyes pleading. "Did you see what she did? Please say something." Sarah's throat felt tight. Her voice caught somewhere between her conscience and her fear of retaliation. She could feel Ryan's eyes on her, challenging her to speak. "Stay quiet," his gaze seemed to say, "or you'll regret it." But Saran couldn't shake the image of Ryan sliding the bag into Carmen's car. Her father's words echoed in her mind, a lesson he had instilled in her since she was a child. "Integrity isn't easy, but it's what makes you a good person, Ryan," Sarah said, her voice trembling but audible. "This isn't right." Ryan turned towards her, his face darkened by anger. "You don't know what you're talking about. Keep your mouth shut." Carmen stood tall, her voice firm, despite the anger coursing through her. "He can't intimidate his way out of this. I know exactly what's going on here, and your partner knows it too." Ryan approached Carmen, his hand ominously resting near his holster. "Do you think you're untouchable because you drive a nice car? Let me tell you something. That's enough." Sarah snapped more forcefully than she intended. Her heart was pounding in her chest, but she didn't back down. "Are you crossing the line?" The crowd had grown larger now, and the weight of their gazes fell upon the scene. Ryan hesitated, looking around at the spectators. He clenched his jaw, but said nothing. Carmen took a deep breath and looked at Sarah, her voice calm but firm. "Thank you for speaking up, but this isn't over." Sarah nodded, a spark of determination flickering in her chest. For the first time, she felt she had the courage to take a stand. Ryan's face twisted into a grimace as he turned his attention back to Carmen. The crowd kept watching, phones raised, documenting every second. He leaned closer to her. His voice a low growl meant only for her ears. Do you think you're smarter than me? Do you think these people are going to help you? Carmen met his gaze directly. I don't believe you, Officer Thompson. I know I'm smarter than you, and you've just made the biggest mistake of your career. Ryan's composure cracked for a moment, but he quickly masked it with a snort. He took the handcuffs from his belt, approaching Carmen. He is under arrest for possession of a controlled substance. Sarah felt her breath catch in her throat. This was the moment where she had to choose between her career and her conscience. His father's voice echoed in his mind once again. If you don't stand up for what's right, you're as guilty as those who do wrong. No, Sarah said suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. He stepped between Ryan and Carmen, his hands raised defensively. This isn't right, and you know it. Ryan's face flushed with anger. Get out of the way, rookie. Don't make me report you for insubordination. Sarah's voice trembled, but she didn't move. You planted that evidence. I saw you. I won't be part of this. The crowd gasped, a wave of shock spreading among the spectators. Carmen's expression softened, slightly, her gaze fixing on Sarah. Thank you, she said softly. Ryan's fury erupted. He approached Sarah, pointing a finger at her chest. Are you finished? Do you hear me? I'll make sure you never use that badge again. Sarah squared her shoulders, summoning every ounce of courage she had. If that's what it takes to do the right thing, so be it. Carmen, feeling that the moment was at its turning point, decided to speak. Officer Thompson said, his voice firm and commanding. He should think carefully about his next move. Ryan laughed bitterly. Ah, yes. And why would that be? Carmen put her hand in the pocket of her jacket, moving slowly and deliberately. Both officers tensed up, but she remained unfazed. She took out a leather badge holder and opened it, revealing her credentials. My name is Captain Carmen Fuentes, she said in a calm but firm tone. I am the new officer in charge of this precinct. For a moment, there was only silence. Ryan looked at the plaque, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Sarah felt her knees weaken as the weight of the revelation hit her. That can't be possible, stammered Ryan, his confidence crumbling. You can't be. Carmen interrupted him. You didn't even bother to ask before deciding that I was a criminal, did you? But it shouldn't matter who I am. Every person deserves to be treated with respect, not judged by the color of their skin or the car they drive. Ryan's face paled as the crowd erupted in murmurs. Some people cheered, others shouted at him in anger. The reality of what she had done, what had just been exposed, seemed to sink in. Sarah took a small step back, her mind spinning. Carmen turned towards her, her expression softening. Officer Miller, I am grateful that you found the courage to speak up. It's not easy, but it's the right thing to do. Sarah swallowed hard, her voice trembling. I should have done it earlier. I'm sorry. Carmen nodded with a slight smile on her lips. You did it when it mattered. That's what matters. Ryan, still in shock, finally found his voice. Captain, can I explain? No. Carmen interrupted him. Abruptly. You can't. What you did today goes against everything this badge represents. Hand over your weapon and your badge. You are suspended with immediate effect. Ryan's hand trembled as he unclipped his badge and holster. He looked at Carmen, her face twisted in anger and disbelief. You can't do this. You don't know what it's like out here. I've been protecting these streets for 20 years. Carmen's expression didn't waver. Protecting. That's what you call this. How many lives have you destroyed with your prejudices, Ryan? How many people have you incriminated to feed your ego? The crowd, now emboldened by Carmen's presence, began to shout demanding justice. A woman at the front shouted, "You are a disgrace to the uniform." Another added, "We've been dealing with this for years." Sarah looked at the growing crowd, her nerves fraying. This was no longer just about Ryan. It was about a system that had allowed officers like him to operate unchecked. Carmen stepped forward, her voice carrying a weight that silenced the noise. "This isn't just about me," Carmen said, turning to address the crowd. "It's about holding people like him accountable. It's about making sure that no one is above the law, not even those who swore to defend it." Ryan's face flushed as he stepped closer to Carmen. "Do you think you're some kind of heroine? You don't know what it's like to deal with real criminals out here. You sit behind a desk while I risk my life." Carmen raised an eyebrow, her calm demeanor unshakable. "And do you think that justifies planting evidence, using your authority to intimidate and degrade innocent people? You're not risking your life, Ryan. You're ruining others." Sarah felt her chest tighten as she watched the exchange. She had always known that there were cracks in the system, but seeing them up close was overwhelming. Carmen turned her attention to Sarah, her voice softening. "Officer Miller," said Carmen, "I know this isn't easy for you, but speaking today took courage. Don't lose that." Sarah nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I won't do it." Ryan, still holding his badge, looked at Carmen with a mix of resentment and desperation. "You're making a mistake, Captain. People like you don't last long in this job." Carmen approached, her eyes locking onto his. "People like me? Are you referring to people who believe in justice, who believe in equality? If that's a mistake, it's one I'll gladly make." The crowd erupted in applause, their voices drowning out Ryan's protests. Carmen turned to the nearest spectator and said, "Thank you for recording this. Make sure it gets shared." Ryan's face twisted in fury. "Are you throwing me under the bus for appearances?" "This is quite a show." Carmen didn't flinch. "No, Ryan. This is responsibility, something you clearly don't understand." The wail of the approaching sirens grew louder, signaling the arrival of reinforcements. Carmen stood tall, her presence commanding, as Ryan reluctantly handed over his badge and holster. His shoulders slumped and his bravado crumbled under the weight of what had just happened. Sarah watched a storm of emotions swirling inside her. Relief, guilt, and a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in years. As another patrol car stopped, two officers got out, their eyes scanning the crowd and the scene before them. Carmen called. Then with a gesture, her voice firm and clear. "Officers, escort Mr. Thompson to the precinct. He is suspended pending a full investigation." Ryan's face turned a deeper shade of red. "You can't be serious. This is my precinct, my team." Carmen didn't even look at him while she replied, "Not anymore." The crowd cheered as the officers reluctantly led Ryan away. Some shouted words of support for Carmen, while others demanded justice for the countless people Ryan had harmed over the years. Carmen turned to face the crowd, her voice rising above the noise. "This is just the beginning," she said in a resolute tone. "Today we are taking a stand against corruption and prejudice, but it doesn't stop here. It is up to all of us to demand accountability and ensure that our system works for everyone." The crowd responded with a wave of applause and shouts of agreement. Sarah felt a lump in her throat as she realized the magnitude of the moment. This wasn't just about Carmen or Ryan. It was about the community regaining its trust in the people meant to protect them. As the scene began to calm down, Carmen approached Sarah, her expression softening. "You did the right thing today," she said. "I know it wasn't easy." Sarah nodded, her voice barely audible. She was scared. "I didn't know if I would lose everything." Carmen placed a reassuring hand on Sarah's shoulder. "You didn't lose anything that matters. Integrity is what defines us, not the badge." Sarah blinked to hold back tears, feeling a sense of pride she hadn't felt since she joined the force. For the first time, she understood what it truly meant to serve and protect. A local news crew arrived, cameras already rolling. Carmen took a deep breath, knowing that the spotlight was about to shine brighter than ever. She turned towards the camera, her voice calm, but firm. What happened here today is a reminder that no one is above the law, not even those who swore to uphold it. She said, "We have a long way to go, but change starts with moments like this." As the team captured every word, Sarah stepped back, letting Carmen take the lead. She looked at the crowd now dispersing, but leaving behind an air of hope and determination. For Sarah, this was the beginning of a new chapter, one where she could finally fulfill the oath she had made. For Carmen, it was an opportunity to reshape a broken system from within, and for the community, it was a spark that could ignite a larger movement for justice. The sirens faded into the distance as Ryan's patrol car disappeared down the road. Carmen and Sarah stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next.